Hi Flosstube, this is Stephanie, the Ivy House Crafter. It is Monday, July 8th, yes, and this is my Flosstube video where I talk about cross stitch and sometimes other crafts and things going on in my life. I do have some life updates to share, and I will save those for after all of the cross stitch stuff, because some of it involves things which will bring me to tears, and it's easier to talk about cross stitch when I'm not crying. So Monday and Tuesday, I just get out my notebook so I remember when I worked on what. Yeah, no, yes. Monday and Tuesday. On both of those days, I worked on, the works of Jane Austen Sal. I do not have the complete printout of everything that's been designed so far. Each of these sections is one of the books by Jane Austen, and I think that the only one left to be released is Persuasion down here, so these are all already filled technically, I just don't have the printout for those ones. So last week I had finished the flowers in the top border and stitched a little bit of grass and Marianne's piano and some music notes in the Sense and Sensibility section. This week I added more grass and some cute little sheep and Edward Ferrars' infamous handkerchief and the word Sense and Sensibility 1811. So I got a lot of progress on this. So that was Monday and Tuesday. All that's left, well, I can't say all that's left, it's actually quite a bit still. Barton Cottage will be right here, and that will be a lot of stitching and some back stitching. And then up in this section there will be Edward's ring with Lucy Steele's hair in it. There will be some scissors and locks of Marianne's hair that Willoughby illicitly took. I'm trying to remember if anything else is up in that area. I can't. Oh, and a cloud, a rain cloud, and I'm going to be adding some raindrops for the storm that caused Marianne to fall and injure her ankle. And that's when she met Willoughby. So that's all that I have left for the Sense and Sensibility block. So let's see. Also, on Monday, I wasn't feeling like a one project a day kind of mood, and so after working on that on Monday and then working on it again on Tuesday, both of those days I also pulled out Summer House by Brooks Books, and I'm actually not going to show the mock-up of that because after continuing to work on it on Wednesday and Thursday, I finished it. So this is my finish of Summer House. Last time I showed this, I had the bottom half completely done, and I had outlined the tiles in the roof, or the shingles in the roof, and so this time I filled in all of the roof tiles. I added the trees and the wind and the birds and all of the little sparkly pollen. I'm saying it's pollen, I don't know for sure, but all the little sparklies of Krynic in the upper half. And I don't know how much sparkle you're going to pick up on the camera, but it's got some sweet sparkle. All of the Krynic on the bottom half I stitched with 2 strands. On the top half I just did one because I was running low on the spool and I didn't know if I would have enough. And you kind of can't really even see a difference. I mean, I can tell because I know that that's what I did. And I think the ones in the bottom half are a little bit fuller, but like you can't tell the difference. And no one viewing this, like as it's displayed on the wall or wherever, will be able to see the difference. So that turned out fine. This is 28 count Star Sapphire linen. And I forgot to mention for the Jane Austen piece that is stitched on 28 count Water Lily Jobelin. So that was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Thursday evening, I decided that I really need to stitch something patriotic because it was American Independence Day, 4th of July. So I pulled out my Plum Street Sampler's American Sampler and I stitched this flag here on top of the building. Ta-da! I did use the called for red and blue. The white stripes were supposed to be stitched in Gentle Arts parchment, but I realized that apparently while I was kitting this up, they were out of stock of parchment, and and so I didn't get any. So I just used the DMC. I think it's, let me look again. 644, DMC 644. It's a off-white creamish color, and with the sort of primitive look of the sampler, it works really well. That it's not bright white. So this is being stitched 1/2 on 36 count linen that I dyed myself with just a bit of dark brown Rit dye and just a hint of mottling. So that was Thursday evening. Over the weekend, we spent some time up in Idaho, and we were staying at my sister's house, and I brought one that I knew that I could just fill in just really easy for any moments that I did decide to pick up some cross stitching and didn't want to have to focus too much. And so I brought the cat sampler because I have the entire building outlined in the dark red, the stripes between the boards or bricks or whatever they are. And so any stitching I did over the weekend was filling in there. So for this, I just brought it down and kind of filled in this area here. It was nice to have some stitching that I could do, that I did not have to focus or concentrate or anything. Just thread the needle and go. So that is what I worked on the handful of times that I picked up and did a little bit of stitching over Friday and Saturday and Sunday. I didn't get a lot done then because those were busy days, Friday and Sunday. There was a lot of driving. But yeah, what I could put in, I did. And that is all the stitching that I have this week. 4 whips, not bad. Well, 3 whips and a finish. I'm really happy to have finished Summer House. That was on my tentative list of things that I would like to get done this year, and so I'm glad that it's done. That was a Stitch Mania start from last May, which was my first Stitch Mania. Okay, I think that's all that there is for the cross-stitch portion. I'm going to pause the video and collect myself, and then be back with my life updates. Okay, life updates. I'm not going to go completely in chronological order. I want to get the easy to talk about stuff out of the way first. 4th of July, on Thursday. It was fun, and there was a little bit more excitement than any of us bargained for. So my husband bought, you know, the big box or package or whatever of a whole bunch of the fountain type fireworks, and so that evening he and the kids went out and were setting those off, and there were others in the neighborhood that were setting off their fountains, and some that had the kind that shoot up in the air, which technically I believe is illegal, especially within city limits, but people do it anyway. Yeah. So I was staying inside because the fireworks and stuff, I just don't care for it. It's not my favorite. So I was staying inside stitching. And you know, the kids were just out there having a blast, looking at all the fireworks, ours and the neighbors and stuff. And then the door opens and closes, and I hear just this really quiet sobbing. So I go and I check, and my daughter is standing there, and she's got her arm cradled. The neighbors across the street, they were some of the ones with the fire up in the air rockets, and one of them had tipped over and hit her in the arm. She was wearing a sweater jacket thing, and it was synthetic material, so where it hit, it caught on fire and melted and burned her arm. Nothing super serious. There was no like trip to urgent care or anything. We just, you know, washed it off really well and bandaged it, and it's healing wonderfully. She's okay. It was just like, okay, wow. Neighbors, thank you for that excitement. So she decided to stay inside and watch the rest of the fireworks from inside the house. And then later in the evening, our youngest, 2.5-year-old Matthew, he was getting fussy, so Jeff brought him inside for a little while, but then he wanted to go back outside and watch the fireworks some more. So Jeff took him outside, and he ran to one specific spot and had been standing in that spot. That's where he ran to straight to and stopped, and in less than a minute one of their fireworks tipped over again and hit him straight in the chest. Like, the coincidence of him going straight to that spot almost immediately before their rocket hit that spot, it was like, yeah. So Jeff brings him inside, and he's like screaming and hollering because A, it's really late and he's super tired, and B, he got hit in the chest with a firework. Now his, I guess his clothing was like kind of fire retardant, and he ended up with some bruising and maybe like a slight burn, no worse than like a mild sunburn would have been. Again, no ER, no urgent care, nothing major, and he's fine, just a little bruise. But holy cow! Just a PSA, if you're going to shoot off fireworks that fire up into the sky, please stabilize them. Please. just do that so that innocent children wandering around and enjoying the fireworks don't get hit by knocking over Fireworks. Yeah, so that was our excitement of Thursday evening. Happy 4th of July to my poor children. Okay, so that brings us to the slightly more difficult to talk about section. I have shared before in my Flosstube videos, not recently, but a while back, about my aunt who was diagnosed with stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. And this past Wednesday, I got a call from my dad saying that she had passed away. So Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, that's why we went up to Idaho. We went to her funeral on Saturday. I'm going to put in a few video clips from previous Flosstube videos where I talked about her and the piece that I cross-stitched for her. So I'm going to put those in right here. I have an aunt who is dying of stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. It's all through her body. It's in her sternum, her lungs, it's around her heart. She's actually not been able to speak for about 2 months because of the tumor that's around her aortic arch, and it has paralyzed her vocal cords. And this is really hard for her. This is my dad's sister, and on my dad's side we are a very musical family. We sing together, like, you know, every family gathering we sing just a lot. My grandparents had a song, it's the "We ain't got a barrel of money, maybe we're ragged and funny." So yeah, that was their song, and we would sing it together, and so my aunt has, you know, carried this tradition of singing and just family music to her family, her husband and children. And so it's hard for her to not be able to talk, not be able to sing. Before she lost her voice, she and her family members recorded songs that they would sing together. And she did this one with my uncle, with her husband, and her children set it as music to a video of a bunch of family pictures and put that on Facebook, and it was just this really beautiful thing. And yesterday morning I had the inspiration, the urge, the call to create a cross-stitched piece for my aunt. And what I'll be doing is stitching up the chorus of the song that she sang with her husband. And this is how it goes. I'm gonna sing it, so bear with me. Today, while the blossoms still cling to the vine, I'll taste your strawberries, I'll drink your sweet wine. A million tomorrows will all pass away ere I forget all the joy that is mine today. And the song goes on. There's a couple verses, but what I wanted to do was chart out that chorus, chart out the words to that, and have some flowers around it and stuff. Stitch that up, and I really hope that I can get it done in time for her to see it. So yesterday I spent almost the entire afternoon and evening charting this, and this is what I've got. I don't know how clear this is going to be, so I took a picture, and if this doesn't turn out really well, then I'll go ahead and just show the picture, which I figured out how to do, by the way, hopefully. So it's not exactly the way it's going to be. The colors are going to be different. Some of the things are not going to be in the same place. This one, excuse me. So this motif I charted before this one, and when I went to chart this one, I wanted them to be, you know, equal, but these words are further over, and so this one had to be further out towards the edge. So what I'm going to do, instead of erasing this and scooting it out, I just wrote in over 7 spaces so that they will be the same distance away from the edges. And I might move them upwards a little bit. Charting a pattern is a lot of work. And, you know, figuring out where everything needs to go, and obviously I did it all by hand, and any changes meant I had to erase and do it all over again. Like, I discovered after I had written it all out that instead of sweet wine, I had written only one E in the word sweet, so it said, "I'll drink your sweat wine," which is gross. So I had to erase all of this and chart that over again. So for things like I want to move A Million Tomorrows over a little bit this way, and I want to move We'll All Pass Away a little bit that way. So I'm not gonna like erase it all and chart it over again. I'll just take this line, and when I stitch it, I'll start over here instead of over here. But yeah, I am really pleased with how this looks, and I'm really hoping that it stitches up really pretty. I have that kitted up. I'll be stitching it on 18 count Fiddler's Aida. Oh, what color is it? Hang on. It's a very neutral color. It's light oatmeal. There we go. And that's exactly what it looks like. It looks like oatmeal. So this is 18 count Fiddler's Cloth, light oatmeal. It's Child's Craft. And here's the colors that I've put together for that. Some of the colors are for the words, some of the colors are for the flowers on the outside. I think each line of wording will be in a different color. It might be cheesy, I don't know, but like Today While the Blossoms is going to be blue for blossoms. Still Cling to the Vine is going to be one of these greens. Green for vine. I'll Taste Your Strawberry will be this red for strawberries. I'll Drink Your Sweet Wine, that's going to be this deeper purpley red for sweet wine. And, you know, they're all, you know, really pretty colors, and it will look, I think, really nice when it's stitched up. I hope really nice. So that is my new focus project. I'm going to start working on that right away, and I hope to have it done quickly because I don't know how much time my aunt has left. And I want her to be able to see it. But I have been working on this piece since I started it. And I talk about it in my last video. It's just to, you know, a brief catch up. My aunt, my father's sister, has stage 4 metastatic breast cancer, and she has had breast cancer, I think, a couple times before, and always before she beat it. And this time she's not going to. They know, and my aunt and her husband, they feel at peace with the way things are going to happen. They accept her condition, and she and her family have just, you know, they are just living life to the fullest while they can, and I think that's just beautiful. My aunt has been posting things on Facebook, trips that she's taking with her daughters. They went to, I'm trying to remember, they went to Disneyland, they went on a cruise. They've, you know, just done a lot of things together, making memories, and, you know, doing things with her sons, and just spending time doing the things that make her happy with the people she loves the most. And I think because of, well, like, I've known about it for a while too, and because of their accepting and peaceful attitudes toward this, it's easier for everyone around them to also be accepting and at peace with the whole situation. I had a comment on my last video that she couldn't believe that I got through it without crying, and I normally am like a pretty emotional person, but, you know, like I said, that attitude of acceptance and peace, plus I am on an antidepressant that evens my my emotions out, so that, you know, that makes it easier to not cry. But so yeah, this was the piece that I designed for my aunt. This was a song that she and her husband recorded, you know, just a simple a cappella recording of the two of them singing in harmony, and I wanted to make this special piece for her. I have changed a lot in this pattern. The colors are not at all these colors. This was just, you know, whatever pencils I had on hand, which was green and a couple purples and a regular pencil. I decided that I wanted the wording to be more centered, and so a lot of these lines are, you know, scooched over so that everything lines up properly. Also, I fixed a typo because tomorrow only has one M, and I charted 2, so I had to like, it looks correct on the pattern when I'm looking at it, but as I was stitching that word, I realized I was doubting myself and like, is that the right way to spell it? So I had to look it up, and there is only one M in the word tomorrow. So I was able to correct that before I had made a mistake in the stitching, so that's good. But yeah, here is my progress on this piece so far. It is really close to being done because, like I said, I've been working on it non-stop, monogamous, you know, whatever. Here's the piece. I'm not sure it's showing properly, so I'll put it with this paper behind it. There we go. In the original pattern, there were no birds. I put those in, I don't know, I just, with the way that the words were centered now and there was like all this space, I didn't want to just put bars of flowers like is in the pattern. So I did these 2 little birds. I'll zoom in. There's one. And let's see. There's one. I really hope these are showing up because they're so cute. So what I still need to do on this piece, I need to finish the flowers on here. It will look just like this one, but you know, backwards. And then what I want to do is just put in, you know, more changing the pattern, but it's my pattern, so I get to. I want to put in just like little flowers just to fill in some of the area around the outside. I need something in here, and you know, so yeah, just fill in with little flower motifs here and there, and then it will be done. And my plans for finishing this, I want it to be framed. I don't know if I'm going to have it framed professionally or if I'm going to try my hand at stretching and framing it myself. But either way, it will be in a frame, a really nice pretty frame. It's an odd size, so it will have to be custom framed, whether I do it professionally or myself. And then she lives really close to my sister. They live up in the Idaho Falls area in Idaho, and my older sister and I, we are bestest friends, and we go up and visit them. It's like a 3 or 4 hour drive, but we visit them usually at least once or twice a year. And so we're going to take some time once this is finished and go up to hang out with my sister and her family. And while we're there, I'm going to give the stitched piece to my aunt in person. So I'm looking forward to having it done, and I get to go up and see my aunt and my sister, and that will be just really neat. This is the piece that I have been working on for my aunt, Today While the Blossoms, and it is done. Get that up here. So let me see. What I did since last time, I added these flowers. I'm pretty sure that I didn't have this little flower yet. And I added just a few more little, I might have had these two, I don't know. But yeah, just filled in the last remnants of what was empty, and now it is complete. I am really happy with it. I think that it turned out lovely. It still definitely needs to be ironed. I don't know if you noticed that giant crease down the middle, but yeah, I'm gonna iron it. And I got a frame that I will be using to finish it off, and I just realized I grabbed everything I need except for the frame. I will be right back. So, do you know how hard it is to find a square frame? They don't really sell frames of the correct size and shape that I needed for my for the piece that I did. But I did manage to find this piece of art, and I'm going to, well, not going to, I already have removed that. This, I mean, it's adorable. I love it. I'm going to use it for something else. Probably not something stitched, but you know, I don't want to burn any bridges, maybe. But so this I removed, and I used it to, where's the hair? I used it to create a template that I'm going to use for lacing the stitched piece, and that will then go in here. Don't freak out, I'm going to glue it in because there's really no other way to attach it.
But if you have any ideas that I can avoid gluing, but it's just like this solid piece. So the plan is lace the stitched piece using the template. I cut it out of mat board. Attach it here and put this little frame back on it, and it will be done. And it already comes with the little hangers on the back and everything, so I think that will be really beautiful when it's done. I just need to, I've never laced a piece of stitching before, so that should be interesting to see if I'm able to do that. So that's how I'm going to finish that. I have an FFO. This is the piece that I have been working on for my aunt with breast cancer, and it's the one I charted myself. It's a special song that she and her husband would sing together, and so this is my finish. I love how it turned out. I just think it is so pretty. Like, you know, not really a lot to say about it. It's just, there was a different piece of art in here. You can go back and watch my other video. It was like spices, and, you know, really pretty, but it was the perfect size for this. So I took that out and I glued, well, I laced up the stitched piece, and that was a lot of fun. It's not as difficult as I thought it would be. So I can see myself doing more lacing in the future, definitely. So I laced it up on foam board. I glued it onto this piece, and again in my other video you can see what this looked like before I put it on. It's just like a big flat thing, and then I glued the smaller frame on top of the stitched piece, and this is how it turned out, and I really like it. It is so pretty, and if I wasn't giving it away as a gift I would keep it for myself because it's just so beautiful. But, you know, it is a gift, and I will be delivering that to my aunt in person this weekend. So I'm really excited about that. It's finished, it's beautiful, it's very special. Yeah. We went up to Idaho this weekend and stayed with my sister. She's 2 years older than me, and we have been best friends ever since we were young. Yes, I love my sister so much. And the kids love to go visit Aunt Michelle and Uncle Mark, and they have 4 boys, and so it's just a big, rowdy, fun, chaotic visit every time we go. And while I was there, she lives just like the next town over from my aunt, who I have talked about in previous videos. This is my aunt who has stage 4 metastatic breast cancer, and we don't know how long she has, probably a matter of months, but she has such an amazing attitude and about her whole situation. She hasn't been able to speak for several months. She has a tumor around her aortic arch that has paralyzed her, what's it called? Well, basically her vocal cord. A nerve in there has been paralyzed by this tumor, and so she can't talk. She whispers, and it's hard for her because too much whispering, and she coughs a lot because she's got tumors all through her lungs and her sternum and everything. But yeah, we had my sister and I went over and visited with her. We had a great visit. The piece that I was working on for her and showed the finish of last week, Today While the Blossoms, gave that to her, and she just loved it. And my uncle loved it too. When she saw, you know, when I showed it to her, she said she bet that her husband would cry when he saw it, because like she's the really pragmatic, you know, get everything done kind of person, and he's more sensitive and a little bit more emotional. And sure enough, when he came in and we showed it to him, he got misty-eyed and was just very touched. So yeah, my aunt told me that there wasn't a single thing that I could have stitched that would have been better, more appropriate than what I gave them. And it was a song that the two of them would sing together, and you know, can't anymore because she doesn't have a voice, but before she lost her voice, they recorded some songs that they would sing, and she and her husband, she and her kids, and that was one of them. And so I did the chorus, Today while the blossoms still cling to the vine, I'll taste your strawberries, I'll drink your sweet wine. A million tomorrows will all pass away ere I forget all the joy that is mine today. Yeah, so to see the finish on that, I show it in my previous video. I could insert a picture, but the last time I tried inserting pictures, I know I did this weird thing where there was a still shot of some guy running through a street, and it was like some foreign language, and I don't even know. But yeah, I wanted to share something that she said while we were there. Just kind of demonstrates her attitude and her sense of humor that she has not lost at all. She told us about a conversation that she had with her friend, and she said, okay, I want you to be in charge of my makeup for the viewing, and don't forget lipstick, because when I don't have lipstick on, I look dead. So that's her sense of humor. So yeah, I'm glad that I was able to create that piece for them and give it to her in person, and we stayed and just talked very quietly because she could only whisper for, I think it was at least an hour, and it was just a really neat experience, and I'm glad that I was able to have that experience.
So my aunt was already a 2-time survivor of breast cancer. She was first diagnosed as a young mother, and had treatment, went into remission, and then 5 years later the cancer returned, and once again she went through treatment and went into remission, and then many years later, about 2.5 years ago, she was having some health problems and went to the doctor, and after about 6 hours of tests, she was informed that her cancer had returned. And, you know, after more time and more testing, they learned that it was stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. It had spread to her lungs and sternum, and she was given, I think at one point it was a matter of months that she was told she had to live. She doesn't let people tell her what to do. She lived, like I said, 2.5 years after that original diagnosis, and she fit more into those 2.5 years than many people do in their entire lives. She was a Spitfire. She was determined and adventurous and active, and she had a bucket list, and when she knew that her time would be drawing short, she was checking off items on her bucket list. She went hot air ballooning, she rode in a helicopter, she went skydiving. This little old 60-year-old woman skydiving with her younger brother, who is actually a skydiving instructor. She and her husband went on trips and cruises. They went to Hawaii. She went to Europe with her youngest daughter. And she has 8 children, and many times over the course of these past couple of years, they have visited her or she's visited them. They went shopping, pedicures, out to eat and everything. No matter how much pain and exhaustion she went through, she always had time for her children. And even at the very end, she would not be told what to do. In the official post on Facebook that announced her passing, her husband said that the day before, the hospice nurse had checked on her and said that there were several things that needed to happen before she would pass away, and gave it about 1 to 3 weeks. And then the next day, the nurse said that some of those things had happened and gave her about 2 to 4 days, and she was gone within an hour. And as her husband put it in that post, even at the end, Annette had the last laugh. You don't tell her what to do. But she died peacefully in her sleep. There toward the end, she was on some pretty heavy medication for the pain and wasn't always very lucid. Her daughter shared at the funeral that in one of her, or during that time period when her daughter was sitting with her, she suddenly woke up and said, "Always make more than enough," because she was always serving others and always sharing with everyone. And this particular daughter shared that until she was grown and out of the house, she had no idea that other people don't bake bread 8 or more loaves at a time for a large family and for sharing with others. Another speaker at the funeral, after her daughter gave the eulogy, asked, he's like, okay, this is a little unorthodox, but I'm going to ask if anyone here has ever received a loaf of Annette's homemade bread. Raise your hand. And like almost the entire chapel was full of raised hands. She was that kind of person where she would, I mean, if she knew you, you were friend and you were family. And she was just incredible. I know I'm just kind of rambling. This is all very just chain of consciousness, whatever comes into my mind. I need this, I guess, as part of my process. You know, processing what happened, how it affects me personally, and our family unit as a whole. Our family dynamic, you know, starting with my grandparents and their children, two of whom are my aunt and my dad, and then all of the grandchildren and great-grandchildren. As a family unit, we are an extremely tight-knit group, very large group. I have well over 50 cousins on this particular side, and on the other side too, but that's not what we're talking about right now. We have had reunions every other year since I was, well, probably since before I was born. I mean, it's been, we are closer as a family than many families that I know. Like, my husband has family in Australia that he's never met because they're in Australia and he's never been there. And on his dad's side, he has had one uncle and a couple cousins, and I never met his uncle before he passed away. I don't know that he ever even saw him in the time that we knew each other. He doesn't visit his cousins or anything, and it's not that they don't like each other, it's just they're not that kind of family. It's a very small family, and then they're each living their own lives. My dad's family is not like that. Just, yeah, it's kind of hard to describe the dynamic, the organism that is this family. But all of my aunts and uncles and cousins, you know, they've been this part of me and who I am my whole life. And it's hard to think of what is now missing from that family unit. Besides my grandpa, who passed away 7 years ago, she's the first to not be here anymore. And it's kind of hard to imagine, because as one of the aunts, she has been there my whole life. And, you know, I've stayed with her, and she got me my first job out of high school, and it's one that shaped future summer jobs between college semesters, and those jobs shaped who I am as a person, and my views on certain things. And she was a special ed teacher and fluent in ASL, and there were times that I helped her, you know, go set up her special ed classroom, and she was there for some of her nieces giving birth. You know, she helped my sister when she was giving birth to her first baby because her husband was deployed overseas at the time and wasn't able to be there. And then just over the past, couple years of having this challenge that she had, she would regularly post on Facebook kind of updates of how she was doing, and they were always so full of faith and optimism and humor. Like I said earlier, her cancer had spread to her lungs, and she really struggled a lot with that. And she would joke about needing new lungs, and so she would wear like a t-shirt that had a pair of lungs with a sign on it that said "out of order," and and she had a shirt that said, "I'm not here for a long time, but I'm here for a good time." Anyway, so Friday, the kids and I drove up to Idaho. Jeff had to work Saturday, so he wasn't able to go with us. We stayed at my sister's house. Saturday afternoon was the viewing and the funeral, and tears were shed, laughs were shared, hugs, and more tears were shared. And when we went to the cemetery, we're a very musical family. And my grandma and grandpa had a special song, and it's kind of become our family song. I don't know how many of you have ever seen Richie Rich, but the song that his parents sing to open the vault. Oh, we ain't got a barrel of money, maybe we're ragged and funny, but we'll travel along, singing our song side by side. And there's a couple more verses in the bridge and stuff. That's like our family song, and so we sang that at the cemetery as a family. And the hymn, God Be With You Till We Meet Again. And it's hard to sing when you're sobbing, but it was just a really beautiful experience. And Jeff was able to get out of work early and drive up really fast and make it to the interment at the cemetery, and then we went back to the church building for a luncheon, and then back to my sister's house. And then we left our 9 kids that we have between us, and us adults went out on a double date, which was nice. We went bowling. I haven't been bowling for a really long time. We played 3 games and I'm still sore. I think we needed the laughter of, having a good time, and my sister and I being really good at getting gutter balls. There were times when I was laughing so hard that I would have to wipe tears from my eyes and then realize that I was trying not to cry while I was laughing. And emotions do that. So then Sunday we went to church with my sister, and then had lunch and drove home, and that was our weekend. I wanted to share a picture of my aunt. This is from program from her funeral. Let me just... So that is my beautiful aunt. I think I'm going to restitch the Today While the Blossoms piece that I designed and stitched for her and her husband. I think I would like to restitch that and have it for me as well. I just need to kit it up. Anyway, that's my life updates. Other than that, everything's going well. Having been away for the weekend, I need to sort of pick back up my housekeeping habits that I've been working on. Get everything unpacked and put away from the trip. And then just go back to life. And getting used to the idea of, you know, what life is now. Anytime you experience a loss, you know, you have to kind of figure out how to be normal again. So that's where I'm at right now. Thanks for sticking with me if you have made it this long. I'm sorry if I made it difficult to stitch for any of my viewers that are sympathetic criers. I know that I am, and if somebody else starts crying, I'm misty-eyed and can't see and can't stitch. So I apologize if anybody has had a difficult time stitching while listening to me. But thanks for hanging in and being a listening ear, even though right now you're just a camera on a tripod. And yeah, hug your loved ones a little closer today. Have a great week and happy stitching.